The autumn rain drummed steadily against the windows of Lincoln Middle School as 12-year-old Maya Chen hurried down the empty hallway toward the exit. Her backpack bounced against her shoulders with each quick step, heavy with homework she'd rather not think about. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting strange shadows that danced across the polished linoleum floor. Most of her classmates had already been picked up or caught their buses home, leaving the school feeling eerily quiet. Maya didn't mind the solitude. It gave her time to think, and today she had plenty on her mind. Her family's restaurant had been struggling lately, and she'd overheard her parents talking in hushed, worried voices the night before. Money was tight, tighter than it had ever been. As she pushed through the heavy glass doors leading to the parking lot, something caught her eye. There, half hidden beneath a row of hedges that lined the school's entrance, something metallic glinted in the dim afternoon light. Maya paused, adjusting her worn sneakers on the wet pavement, and crouched down to investigate. What she found made her gasp audibly. Nestled among the fallen leaves and debris was a watch, but not just any watch. Even to Maya's 12-year-old eyes, it was clearly expensive. The face was a deep, midnight blue with tiny diamonds marking each hour. The band appeared to be made of platinum or white gold, catching the light with an almost ethereal glow. It was the kind of watch she'd only seen in magazines or movies, the kind that probably cost more than her family's car. Maya picked it up carefully, as if it might shatter in her small hands. The weight of it surprised her, substantial and solid, with intricate engravings along the sides that spoke of masterful craftsmanship. When she turned it over, she found an inscription on the back. "Time is the most valuable thing we can give to others. J.W." Her heart raced as she realized what she was holding. This wasn't just expensive. It was probably worth more money than her family had ever seen at one time. The practical part of her mind, the part that had been listening to her parents' worried conversations about rent and bills, whispered tempting thoughts. Who would know if she just kept it? She could say she found nothing. Her family needed the money so desperately. But even as these thoughts crossed her mind, Maya felt a knot forming in her stomach. Her grandmother had always taught her that character was what you did when no one was watching, and Maya had never forgotten those words. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air, and made her decision. The right thing to do was find the owner. Chapter 2. The Search Begins. The next morning, Maya arrived at school 30 minutes early, the watch secured safely in her backpack, wrapped in her favorite scarf. She had spent most of the previous evening researching luxury watches online using the school library's computer, and what she'd discovered had made her stomach flip. The watch appeared to be a Patek Philippe, a brand that regularly sold timepieces for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Her first stop was the main office, where Mrs. Henderson, the school secretary, greeted her with a warm smile despite the early hour. "Maya, honey, what brings you here so early?" Mrs. Henderson asked, looking up from a stack of papers she was organizing. "I found something yesterday," Maya said, carefully unwrapping the watch. "I was hoping maybe someone had reported it missing." Mrs. Henderson's eyes widened as Maya placed the watch on the counter. "Oh my goodness," she breathed, leaning forward to get a better look. This is quite expensive, isn't it?" Maya nodded. "I think so. I looked it up online, and watches like this cost a lot." Mrs. Henderson immediately began checking the lost and found reports from the previous week, but found nothing. She made several phone calls to other schools in the district and even contacted the local police department to see if anyone had reported losing such an item. Each call ended with the same result. No one had come forward. "I have to say, Maya," Mrs. Henderson said after ending her final call, "most kids your age would have just kept something like this. Your parents should be very proud of you." Maya felt a warm glow at the compliment, but it was tinged with uncertainty. "What should I do now? I can't just keep it." Mrs. Henderson suggested posting flyers around the school and nearby businesses, as well as checking online community boards. Maya spent her lunch period creating found, expensive watch flyers, being careful not to include too many identifying details that might attract false claims. Over the next 3 days, Maya posted flyers throughout her neighborhood, asked at local shops and restaurants, and even had her older brother help her post on social media community groups. She received several responses, but each person who claimed the watch was unable to correctly describe its unique features or the inscription on the back. By Friday afternoon, Maya was beginning to lose hope. She sat on the steps outside school, the weight of the watch in her backpack feeling heavier than ever. Her parents had noticed her distraction over the past few days, and she had finally told them about her discovery. While they were proud of her integrity, she could see the wariness in their eyes, the same wariness that came from worrying about money. Maybe this is a sign, she murmured to herself, watching as other students climbed into cars or onto buses, heading home to Friday night plans she couldn't afford to join. But Maya Chen was not the kind of person to give up easily. Chapter 3. An Unexpected Encounter. Saturday morning found Maya at her family's restaurant, Chen's Garden, a small but beloved establishment that served authentic Chinese cuisine in their modest neighborhood. The restaurant had been her parents' dream for over a decade, but recent months had been challenging. Rising costs and increased competition from chain restaurants had put a strain on their finances that seemed to grow worse each week. Maya was helping her mother prepare vegetables in the kitchen when the bell above the front door chimed, announcing a customer. Her father was in the dining room, so she continued her work, listening to the familiar sounds of orders being taken and the gentle clatter of dishes. "Maya," her father called from the front. "Could you please bring out the tea for table 3? She washed her hands and carefully carried the steaming pot of jasmine tea to the dining area. Table 3 was occupied by a single customer, a man who appeared to be in his 50s, with shoulder-length dark hair and a neatly trimmed beard. He was dressed simply in jeans and a worn leather jacket, reading a book while he waited for his food. Something about his presence seemed calming, almost meditative. "Here's your tea, sir," Maya said politely, setting down the pot and a delicate ceramic cup. The man looked up and smiled, and Maya was struck by the kindness in his dark eyes. "Thank you very much," he said in a warm voice. "This smells wonderful." As Maya turned to leave, she noticed the man's wrist. It was bare, no watch, no jewelry of any kind. Something about this struck her as odd, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. She returned to the kitchen, but found herself glancing toward table 3 throughout the afternoon. The man ordered several dishes, eating slowly and savoring each bite. He spoke kindly to her father, asking questions about the ingredients and the restaurant's history. Maya could see her father's face light up as he described the traditional recipes and the care that went into each dish. When the man finished his meal, he approached the counter to pay. Maya was wiping down tables nearby and couldn't help but overhear the conversation. "This was exceptional," the man told her father. "You can taste the love and tradition in every bite. How long have you been here?" Her father's chest puffed with pride. 12 years next month. "My wife and I, we wanted to bring a little piece of our heritage to this community." The man nodded thoughtfully. "That's beautiful. Family businesses like this are treasures. I hope you're here for many more years to come." Maya noticed her father's smile falter slightly. "We hope so too," he said quietly. The man seemed to sense the underlying concern in her father's voice. After paying his bill and leaving a generous tip that made her father's eyebrows rise in surprise, he sat back down at his table and resumed reading. As the afternoon wore on and the lunch rush subsided, Maya found herself curious about their lone remaining customer. He had been there for nearly 3 hours, simply reading and occasionally sipping tea, seemingly in no hurry to leave. There was something peaceful about his presence, as if he brought a sense of calm to the restaurant that had been missing lately. Around 4 o'clock, as Maya was helping her mother close up the kitchen, she made a decision that would change everything. Chapter 4. A Moment of Truth. Maya approached table 3 with her heart pounding in her chest. The watch felt impossibly heavy in her pocket, where she had taken to carrying it wrapped in tissue paper. She had been debating for days whether to continue her search or simply turn it over to the police, but something about this quiet stranger had sparked an idea. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly, not wanting to startle him from his reading. The man looked up with that same kind smile. "Yes." Maya took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "I found something a few days ago, and I've been trying to find the owner. I was wondering, did you maybe lose a watch recently?" The man's expression grew curious, but not excited or relieved as she might have expected from someone who had lost something valuable. Instead, he seemed intrigued by her question itself. "What kind of watch?" he asked gently. This was the test Maya had prepared for all the people who had responded to her flyers. "Could you describe it? I don't want to give it to the wrong person." The man leaned back in his chair, studying Maya's face carefully. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I think you should describe it to me first. If it's mine, I'll know it when I hear about it." Maya felt a flush of embarrassment. Of course, that made much more sense. She reached into her pocket and carefully unwrapped the watch, placing it on the table between them. The man's reaction was immediate and unmistakable. His eyes widened, and he reached toward the watch before catching himself. "Where did you find this?" he asked, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and amazement. "Outside my school, under some bushes by the entrance. It was Wednesday afternoon." Maya watched his face carefully. "Is it yours?" Instead of answering immediately, the man picked up the watch and turned it over to examine the back. When he read the inscription, his shoulders relaxed, and he let out a long breath. "Time is the most valuable thing we can give to others," he read aloud. "Yes, this is definitely mine." He looked up at Maya, and she could see genuine emotion in his eyes. "I can't believe you found it. I've been retracing my steps for days, thinking I'd never see it again." Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. "I'm so glad. I was starting to worry I'd never find the owner." The man carefully fastened the watch around his wrist, and Maya could see how perfectly it fit, how natural it looked there. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "How long have you been looking for me?" "Since Wednesday," Maya replied. "I put up flyers and asked around everywhere I could think of. A lot of people said they lost a watch, but none of them could describe it right." The man shook his head slowly. "You've been carrying this around for 4 days, trying to find me?" Maya nodded, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "My grandmother always said that character is what you do when no one's watching. I couldn't just keep it, even though—" She trailed off, realizing she had almost said too much. "Even though what?" the man prompted gently. Maya hesitated, then decided honesty had brought her this far. "Even though my family could really use the money right now, our restaurant is struggling, and I know my parents are worried about paying the bills, but it wasn't mine to keep." The man was quiet for a long moment, studying Maya's face with an intensity that made her fidget. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft and thoughtful. "What's your name?" "Maya Chen." "Maya, I'm John," he said, extending his hand for her to shake. His grip was firm and warm. "And I think you might be one of the most remarkable young people I've ever met." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I just did what anyone should do." John shook his head. "No, Maya, what you did was extraordinary. Most people would have found a dozen ways to justify keeping something like this, especially if they needed the money. But you didn't. You spent 4 days of your own time trying to find a complete stranger to return something that could have changed your family's financial situation." He paused, looking down at the watch on his wrist. "This watch is very special to me. It was a gift from someone important, and losing it, well, it felt like losing a piece of them. I can never adequately express how grateful I am." Maya felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, though she wasn't sure why. "I'm just happy you got it back." John reached into his jacket and pulled out his wallet. "Please, let me give you a reward. It's the least I can do." Maya shook her head quickly. "Oh no, I couldn't. I didn't do it for money." "I know you didn't," John said quietly. "That's exactly why you deserve it." But Maya continued to shake her head. "Really, I can't. Just knowing it got back to the right person is enough for me." John studied her for another long moment, then slowly put his wallet away. "You know what, Maya? I think I understand. A reward might feel like it diminishes what you did, makes it transactional instead of simply right." Maya nodded, surprised that he understood so perfectly. "But," John continued, "would you allow me to do something else? Would you let me buy dinner for your family tonight? I'd love to meet the parents who raised such an incredible daughter." Chapter 5. Revelations. Maya's parents were initially hesitant when she explained that the customer wanted to treat them to dinner. Her mother, Li Wei, worried about accepting such generosity from a stranger, while her father, David, was concerned about the restaurant's reputation if word got out that they were accepting free meals from customers. But John's genuine warmth and obvious respect for their establishment eventually won them over. He insisted on ordering one of everything on the menu, claiming he wanted to experience the full range of their culinary artistry. As the evening progressed, Maya found herself fascinated by their dinner guest. John asked thoughtful questions about their immigration story, their decision to open a restaurant, and their hopes for the future. He listened intently to every answer, offering insights and observations that showed a deep understanding of both business and human nature. There was something about the way he spoke, measured, thoughtful, and incredibly kind, that made Maya feel like she was talking to someone truly special. "Maya tells us you lost your watch," her mother said as they shared a dessert of homemade mango pudding. "It must be very precious to you." John glanced at Maya, who had been unusually quiet during dinner, still processing the magnitude of what she had done. "It is," he said simply, "but finding it again taught me something important about the kindness of strangers." "Maya is a good girl," her father said proudly. "Sometimes too good for her own good, we worry." "I don't think that's possible," John replied, smiling at Maya. "Kindness like hers is rare. The world needs more people like her." As the evening wound down, John insisted on helping clear the tables despite the family's protests. Maya watched as he moved around the restaurant with an easy familiarity, stacking plates and wiping down surfaces as if he'd worked in restaurants before. "You seem to know your way around a kitchen," her father observed. John chuckled. "I've worked a lot of different jobs over the years. You learn to appreciate the hard work that goes into running a place like this." It wasn't until John was putting on his jacket to leave that Maya noticed something that made her heart skip a beat. A small group of teenage girls had gathered outside the restaurant's windows, phones pressed against the glass, taking pictures and whispering excitedly to each other. John noticed them too, and Maya saw his shoulders tense slightly. He glanced at the girls, then at Maya and her parents, who seemed oblivious to the commotion outside. "Is everything okay?" Maya asked, following his gaze. John was quiet for a moment, then turned back to the family with a serious expression. "There's something I should tell you," he said carefully. "My full name is John, but most people know me as Keanu Reeves." The restaurant fell completely silent. Maya felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her. Her parents stared at John, Keanu, with expressions of shock and disbelief. Her mother began, then stopped, seemingly unable to finish the sentence. "The actor," her father completed, his voice barely above a whisper. Keanu nodded, looking almost apologetic. "I was hoping to have a quiet evening without anyone recognizing me, but it seems word has gotten out." He gestured toward the growing crowd outside. Maya felt dizzy. She had spent 4 days trying to return a watch to Keanu Reeves. The Keanu Reeves, the man from The Matrix and John Wick, had been sitting in their restaurant all afternoon, and she had no idea. "I can't believe this," she whispered, sinking into a chair. Keanu immediately knelt down beside her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. "Maya, look at me," he said gently. When she met his eyes, he continued, "Nothing has changed. You're still the incredibly kind, honest person you were an hour ago. I'm still the grateful man whose watch you returned. The only difference is that you now know I make movies for a living." "But you're famous," Maya said, still struggling to process the revelation. "And rich. That watch probably cost more than our house." Keanu smiled sadly. "Yes, I'm fortunate to have financial success, but that makes what you did even more meaningful, not less. You had no idea who I was, no expectation of reward or recognition. You returned that watch because it was the right thing to do, period." He stood up and addressed Maya's parents, who were still staring at him in amazement. "Your daughter taught me something today about integrity. In my business, I meet a lot of people who are kind to me because of what I can do for them. Maya was kind because that's who she is." The crowd outside had grown larger, and Maya could see people taking pictures through the windows. Keanu noticed too, and his expression grew concerned. "I should probably leave before this gets out of hand," he said. The last thing I want is to bring unwanted attention to your restaurant." "Wait," Maya said suddenly, standing up. An idea had been forming in her mind since the moment he revealed his identity. Would you mind taking a picture with us? Not for social media or anything like that, just for us to remember this night." Keanu's face lit up with a genuine smile. "I would be honored." Chapter 6. The Gift That Keeps Giving. The photo session was brief but magical. Keanu posed with the entire Chen family behind the restaurant's counter, his arm around Maya's shoulders as her parents flanked them on either side. Maya's father used his old digital camera, taking several shots to make sure they captured the moment perfectly. "These are for your family only," Keanu said as they finished. "But I hope they help you remember that good deeds have a way of coming back to us in unexpected ways." As he prepared to leave through the restaurant's back entrance to avoid the crowd out front, Keanu pulled Maya aside for a private conversation. "I want to give you something," he said, reaching into his jacket. "Not a reward for returning my watch, but a gift between friends." He handed Maya a business card with his name and the logo of his production company. On the back, he had written a personal note. "Maya, your integrity inspired me today. Never lose that light, Keanu. If you ever need anything, and I mean anything, you call that number," he said seriously. "College tuition, help with the restaurant, or just someone to talk to. You gave me back something precious today, and I'd like to be able to return the favor someday." Maya stared at the card, tears welling up in her eyes. "I can't accept this. It's too much." "It's not nearly enough," Keanu replied. "Maya, do you understand how rare what you did is? In a world where people often do the wrong thing, even when they think no one is watching, you did the right thing, even when it cost you something. That's not just impressive for a 12-year-old. That's impressive for anyone." He crouched down to her level again. "I want you to promise me something. Promise me you'll never let the world convince you that being good is naive or foolish. Promise me you'll keep being exactly who you are." "I promise," Maya whispered. Keanu hugged her goodbye, then shook hands with her parents. "Take care of her," he told them. "She's going to change the world someday." As he slipped out the back door into the alley, Maya ran to the front window to watch him go. The crowd had dispersed somewhat, but a few dedicated fans were still waiting. She watched as Keanu signed a few autographs and took pictures, treating each person with the same kindness he had shown her family. That night, as Maya lay in bed staring at the business card and the photos from their dinner, she reflected on the day's events. She had woken up that morning as a regular 12-year-old girl helping her parents in their struggling restaurant. She was going to sleep as a 12-year-old girl who had returned a lost watch to one of the most famous actors in the world. But somehow, that wasn't the most important part of the story. The most important part was that she had done the right thing even when it was difficult, even when she didn't know who would benefit from her honesty. She had listened to her grandmother's voice echoing in her memory and chosen character over convenience. Chapter 7. Ripple Effects. The story of Maya's good deeds spread through their neighborhood like wildfire over the next few weeks, though the family was careful to keep the details about Keanu's identity private. Word traveled that the young girl from Chen's garden had found and returned an expensive watch, turning down any reward. Local news stations picked up the story, and soon Maya found herself fielding interview requests and photo opportunities. While the attention was overwhelming at first, something wonderful began to happen to Chen's garden. Customers who had heard about Maya's integrity started coming to the restaurant, wanting to support a family that had raised such an honest daughter. Business, which had been declining for months, began to improve steadily. "People want to support good people," her father observed one evening as they counted the day's receipts, the best they'd had in over a year. "Your honesty brought us more customers than any advertising could have." Maya was touched by the community's response, but she was most proud of a letter she received from her school principal. Lincoln Middle School had decided to establish the Maya Chen Integrity Award, an annual recognition for students who demonstrated exceptional honesty and character when no one was watching. "Your actions have inspired our entire school community," the principal wrote. You've shown us that doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. 3 weeks after their dinner at the restaurant, Maya received an unexpected phone call. Her mother answered, spoke briefly in Chinese, then handed the phone to Maya with a bewildered expression. "It's for you," she said, "someone from a movie studio." Maya's heart raced as she took the phone. "Hello? Maya, this is Sarah. I work with Keanu Reeves. He asked me to call you with an invitation." Maya nearly dropped the phone. "An invitation? Keanu is premiering his new movie next month in Los Angeles, and he'd like to invite you and your family to attend as his personal guests. Everything would be covered: flights, hotel, the whole experience." Maya was speechless. After a moment, she managed to ask, "Why?" Sarah's voice was warm. "He said you reminded him why he loves making movies in the first place. He wants to share that experience with someone who appreciates what really matters in life." The premiere was unlike anything Maya had ever experienced. Walking down the red carpet with her parents, wearing a beautiful dress that Keanu's team had arranged for her, she felt like she was living in a dream. Photographers called her name, reporters asked about her story, and she met actors and directors who had heard about her good deed. But the highlight of the evening was seeing Keanu again. He greeted her like an old friend, introducing her to everyone as the most honest person in Hollywood. During the movie, he sat beside her, occasionally whispering explanations about how certain scenes were filmed or sharing funny stories from the set. After the premiere, at the after-party, Keanu pulled Maya aside for another private conversation. "I have something to tell you," he said, leading her to a quiet corner. "Remember when I said your honesty inspired me? Well, I meant it. This movie we just watched, I dedicated it to you." Maya's eyes went wide. "What do you mean?" Keanu smiled. "In the credits, there's a dedication. It says, 'For Maya Chen, who reminded me that integrity is the greatest special effect.' I wanted everyone who sees this movie to know that good people like you still exist." Tears streamed down Maya's face as she hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." "No, Maya," Keanu replied, hugging her back. "Thank you. You gave me back more than just a watch that day. You gave me back faith in humanity." Epilogue. Full circle. 5 years later, 17-year-old Maya Chen stood at the podium in her high school auditorium, delivering her valedictorian speech to a packed audience. Chen's Garden had become one of the most successful restaurants in the city, featured in food magazines and guidebooks. Her parents had been able to open a second location and establish a scholarship fund for underprivileged students. Maya had received multiple college acceptances, including a full scholarship to study film at USC, a scholarship that had been quietly funded by an anonymous donor she strongly suspected she knew. 5 years ago, she began her speech, "I found something that didn't belong to me, and I had to make a choice. I could have kept it and solved my family's financial problems instantly. Instead, I chose to find the owner, even though it took time and effort and offered no guarantee of reward." She paused, scanning the audience until she found a familiar face in the back row. Keanu had come to her graduation, sitting quietly among the parents and families, wearing a simple baseball cap and glasses. "That choice led to one of the most important lessons of my life, that doing the right thing isn't about who's watching or what you might gain. It's about who you choose to be when you think no one will ever know the difference." Maya continued her speech, talking about integrity, community, and the ripple effects of small acts of kindness. But her eyes kept returning to Keanu, who was wiping away tears as he listened. After the ceremony, as families gathered for photos and celebrations, Keanu approached the Chen family one more time. "I'm so proud of you," he told Maya, embracing her warmly. "Look what you've built from one act of honesty." Maya looked around at her parents' beaming faces, at her classmates and teachers who had become her extended family, at the life she had created through choices both big and small. "It wasn't just one act," she replied thoughtfully. "It was choosing to be the same person every day, whether someone famous was watching or not." Keanu nodded, understanding completely. "That's the secret, isn't it? Character isn't about the big moments everyone sees. It's about all the little moments when no one's looking." As Maya prepared to leave for college in the fall, she kept Keanu's business card in her wallet, not because she expected to need his help, but because it reminded her of a fundamental truth. Good deeds create more good deeds, kindness multiplies kindness, and integrity, real integrity, is always its own reward. The watch that had started it all continued to tick away on Keanu's wrist, marking not just the passage of time, but the enduring power of doing what's right, simply because it's right. And every time he glanced at it, Keanu thought of a 12-year-old girl who had taught him that the most valuable thing we can give to others isn't money or fame or success. It's the choice to be good when goodness costs us something. In a world that often rewards shortcuts and self-interest, Maya Chen had reminded everyone who heard her story that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply being honest. Her name would be forgotten by most, her moment of fame would fade, but the ripple effects of her integrity would continue forever, in the scholarship fund that would help other struggling families, in the countless people inspired by her example, and in the simple, powerful truth that one person's character can change everything. The inscription on Keanu's watch had proven prophetic. Time is the most valuable thing we can give to others. Maya had given her time to find him, and in return, he had given her something infinitely more precious, the knowledge that goodness matters, that integrity is noticed, and that the right choice is always the right choice, regardless of who benefits. Years later, when Maya would face other difficult decisions, and she would face many, she would remember an autumn afternoon when she found something that wasn't hers and chose to do what was right. She would remember that character is indeed what you do when no one is watching, and she would choose goodness again. The end.